Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing our top 10 games that need a new edition, or games needing a new edition. This is a little bit different than I think, kind of like I don't know, like a reprint or something. Like, at least the way I took it. What's this? Yes. I kind of went after games that Oh no, never mind. Basically a second edition, or I guess a reprint. Um, but I also did you pick any games that already had like second editions or third
Um,
editions? Because I tried very hard to stay away from those.
I one of them, I guess you could consider it
Yeah,
had another edition before, but most of them aren't.
yeah.
New editions to me are stuff that it's not just necessarily a reprint. It's going to change something, makes it
Okay,
better, even if it's a small amount better.
okay.
Something generally a lot of older games that more updated, and stuff like
Yeah,
that. That's kind of what I was aiming towards, but.
yeah. I don't think any of the games that I have on this list are like brand new.
Oh no,
Like I
no.
didn't pick anything. I think the newest one I have is 5 years old at this point.
Yeah, I'd have to look. I'll look when I'm doing mine, but I actually have two that actually had a second edition already,
Okay.
but I'm
Okay.
looking for. So we'll our third three. Jesus,
Yeah, yeah,
there's
no,
three.
all of them. Oh my God, these
No, just
second editions suck. Um, yeah, I'm excited to talk about these. One, because these top tens give us a chance to talk about games that normally aren't talked about. Um, and we'll definitely see that with like my number 10. Mainly my number 10 because I don't think anyone remembers it exists, which is kind of why it's at number 10. But yeah, I think we will have one crossover,
one. Um,
and I
yeah,
think it'll be our number one.
I tend to think there's a number one, like a 1, 2 that'll cross
Okay.
over.
Okay. Well, without further ado, let's get started with my honorable mention, which was a Kickstarter game. Actually, some of these only Wow. I think only two of these are actually Kickstarters. That's pretty cool.
Three.
And my honorable mention is definitely that. And this game isn't bad, inherently. Actually, most of the games that I have on this list aren't bad. I just think it didn't get the love that it deserves. I think just I couldn't tell you why. Oh, this game also came out in 2019. Um, so my number 11 is There we go. Wrathborn Champions. So this was a Kickstarter game that it has kind of a small Dragon's Dogma feel in its very specific boss fights, like which is pretty much the entire game. Uh in this, you basically will be picking a certain number of bosses, and it's gonna help if you go to the next
Yeah.
picture. Yeah, perfect. This is actually a really good photo. Um and each of the bosses has various sections that you can go and attack. So in this case, you can go after the dragon's head, you can go after its wings, you can go after its claws, because all of those are gonna have various special effects. The dragon's head might have a fire breath that could be a pain in the ass. The wings might make it fly, which means you probably can't hit it every single round, something like that. And they had a decent amount of bosses, like a hill giant, this guy with a bunch of wolves, like a goblin swarm. And if that was it, that would be, that'd be puzzly enough. But they also did a really cool system where how you were positioned around the table is how you could attack. So the warrior, for example, like its cleave card that hits right down the middle, well, because she's facing the dragon head on, she hits the head, the chest, and then the claws, like right down the middle. But if the warrior was playing on the left side, she would hit the claw, the chest, and then the other claw. So that's kind of a very unique situation where I don't know many games that actually care about how you're sitting. Now, uh, that makes kind of certain game play a little bit weird whenever you don't have like a standard really small coffee table to where you can actually have 4 players sit oriented like this, but I've made it do. Um, this was such a cool concept, and you would actually go through certain like levels. They would level up. They have defenses. The bosses would get harder and harder. Like the sections of the health would increase as you got stronger because you can get items and different levels. I think that the reason why I want a second edition is because I really feel like this game has a place in the hobby. Like I don't know many like this. I would consider this a boss battler,
Hmm.
and you could just have that much more fights. You can actually kind of maybe potentially make it uh more campaigny, expand upon the uh like leveling up system because it's relatively bare bones for what it was. And this I don't know this company. I'm pretty sure they don't exist anymore. But I remember this game being just really unique and yeah, like I think it could definitely come with a second edition.
I would, if I would have played the copy I bought off of you, I would have some input, but I haven't played it yet. So
Do you still have it?
yeah, yep, I
Okay.
do.
I was
Yep.
actually wondering, I'm like, do I still have this? I couldn't
No, no, you
remember.
sold it to me a
Nice.
handful of months ago.
Nice.
All right. So my number 11 is a game that we've both played um, quite a while ago. It came out in 2014. Um, and I remember we didn't care for it a whole lot because the premise of it was really strong. Um, but, and the theme is one of my favorite themes ever, but it just is so damn clunky. And that is Star Wars Imperial Assault.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, this coming out in 2014 and with the the newness how people have updated the system, they've gotten it to where it's been more smoother. They've made it where the apps run smoother. They figured
Mm-hmm.
out new ways to get these things working better. I think if they brought this back, um which Fantasy Flight won't, but if they did, it would be cool because then they could like use some of their more updated like their app stuff has gotten smoother over the years.
Oh yeah.
From the Descent crap and from the stuff they put out now, the apps are a lot better. Even if they use the app, because the app for Journeys of Middle Earth, the Lord of the Rings one,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a really cool app. The game
Yeah.
isn't super great, but the app is really good.
Yeah.
And if they did something like that with this miniature scenario campaign based um, game, and also one of the other things, and this is probably controversial a little bit, but I would like it if they came back and went the route of you playing the people instead of them being just like ally people that
Oh, like actual named
yeah,
characters.
like I want to
Yeah.
play Luke. I want to be Luke doing all this, or I
Yeah.
want to do,
You don't want
I
to
mean,
be glib or ha.
right,
And
right.
it's like, that's the Jedi. It's like, yeah, I mean, I guess they have a lightsaber.
And I know some people like that, and that's just me, but I think I just never felt when we played this, I never felt like in the game, like
Yeah,
thematically in it. It was just like, oh shit, this dark trooper's gonna move here. I
right.
roll a bunch of dice and see what happens. It's like it never really felt thematic. And
Yeah, there was something just kind of missing with this
it,
game. I just
what was
never really could get into. Even when it came out, like I remember jumping into a campaign back then and it just felt just so empty.
yeah, and
And
it was just so
I always
clunky.
attribute it to because I'm not like a huge Star Wars fan. I was like, maybe that's
Uh,
it. Because I know the
Yeah.
characters, you can go on like specialized missions
Right.
with them to get like the Jedi doesn't start with a lightsaber, but you can go on a mission for her and that's how you get her lightsaber. But yeah, the one versus many aspect that they did with this and Descent,
Hmm.
just yeah, I agree. I think that Fantasy Flight's apps have been vastly improved upon, that they really could knock a game like this out of the park.
Yeah, because
But
with this coming out in 2014, it felt like it came out a lot earlier than 2014. If you take the app out of it, like if you
yeah,
just looked at the gameplay, like it feels like an old game when it came out, just
yeah,
because it was
that's
so
true.
clunky and stuff.
They just, I mean, these kinds of games immediately, in my opinion, get improved upon if you remove the fact that you can move diagonal. Like
Hmm.
at least you have some type of strategy when you're trying to figure out like how you're going to deal with the enemies. But like like for example, like that character, I don't have my mouse, but there's nothing stopping that top tan character from moving in between those two sentry droids.
Right.
Yeah, like that. And it's like just simple things like that where it's like, man, yeah, like you can raise the stakes and get more thematic if you just make that slight rule tweak.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yep.
I agree. This is a good pick.
All right.
Cool. My number 10 is the most generic name. And in fact, so Brad's daughter is who makes these PowerPoints for us, and no, she's not on my payroll. Um, but and I knew when I sent you the list, I was like, oh, I should probably mention something about number 10 because you're not gonna find anything on it. Um, and and again, I actually might still have an old video on my YouTube channel covering this game. Um, but I remember this game being pretty cool, albeit insanely generic. So I think that it was ripe for this list. I'm gonna do my best to talk about it because I don't really remember it.
Right.
My number 10 is Heroes. That's it.
Kaminsky?
Heroes. Oh wait, who is this designer?
And he did some games just recently. Heck, he's still designing now.
Yeah, he is. He did Lords of Hellas. He
Okay.
did
So,
Nemesis.
so
He
he's
did.
so he's the Awaken Realms guy.
He is. Oh my God. Holy shit. He did Frostpunk. That is insane. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I didn't even know that. He has other top games in here, Lagrania, Terracotta Army, but yeah, Frostpunk, Nemesis, Lords of Hellas. That blows my mind. And it has a modest 6 on BGG, which I mean for a game that came out, almost 10 years ago, that's not the worst. Although nowadays games come out and if they don't have an 8, they're trash because people think 8s are mid. Um anyway, so the BGG describes this as a dynamic real-time game for 2 to 4 players where you are heroes of whatever, yada yada fantasy stuff. But I distinctly remember this kind of being a small, this is actually the picture I just pulled up. Um like kind of a mix of dice and cards. So similar to like Ashes of uh
Rise of the Phoenix Born.
Phoenix Born,
Ashes Rise.
Ashes
Yeah.
of Rise of the Ashes or Phoenix Ashes, whatever that game is. Um, but not so intricate. Like, so you were actively rolling dice. Like, so that was kind of like the real-time element to get various symbols that you needed to either bring out cards to cast them for special abilities or to summon creatures onto your board. Um, and and then also to activate their own abilities. And then each like it was kind of like I feel like very inspired by Magic the Gathering because you had colors like most of these kinds of games do that have a centralized theme around them. So in this case, they had your blue and then your red and green, and like they all kind of follow that same formula of green are these like massive monsters. Like I want to see yeah, so like one of the pictures that I'm looking up has like a Hydra, and the Hydra has like 8 health. And to activate its ability, I believe you needed like 3 of those shield icons, or not shield, helmet icons that we're seeing on this picture right now. And the Hydra's ability says you may completely heal the Hydra. Um, and they have attack values and health values and stuff. So what God, it's like it's been so long, but I believe you also had these lanes that you would attack down. So you would actively be trying your best to bring out monsters and cast spells to remove enemies in your lane to kill them so that you eventually can get to the hero. And we can actually see the heroes on the map. They're the people looking cards, and they have health, and once you defeat them, that's how you win. Um, I would not encourage anyone to go watch my video if I still have it because it's probably horrible.
Dark Souls one, Dark Gear card game.
Worse, dude. I'm 100% certain it's worse. But I mean, knowing who the designer is now, because I was like, I didn't even take a look at that. I really think that this game could be a pretty nifty one to get a reprint. One, just, I mean, in terms of probably balance, and uh, I like having like tons of cards, and then you can go really heavy into deck construction. Like, think of Magic the Gathering, but if it had like a real-time element, I think that could be really exciting. And then with the dice element, that's not being as, I don't know, as like, because like Ashes of the Phoenix Rise Born, um, just always
Ashes.
felt
It's Ashes, Rise of the Phoenix Warden.
okay. See, I'm pretty sure mine was better. It's Born of the Ashes Rise. They that one always kind of fell flat for me, even like with its new edition. For some reason, I just couldn't get quite into it because I felt like it wanted to be way more serious, and then the dice kind of dictated if you succeeded or failed. And this feels way more light. Like I think the real time element definitely throws that wrench into things. But and I know you're not a huge fan of real time, but I don't know. I don't know. This one, I mean, it's at number 10 because I'm fairly positive that this is gone forever. I've even wanted to try and get a copy of it, but I've no one is ever selling this game just to like redo the discussion on my channel. But yeah, that I mean the designer thing blew my mind.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. This was like when him cutting his teeth into the business, probably.
I guess so. Yeah, it says one of the key tasks for each player is to properly use any cards that they own and creatures that he controls. He must quickly analyze scores on his dice because only given sets of symbols will allow him to use abilities and cast spells. Um, I mean, and it gives that kind of I mean, with the real time of you rolling and then you having to feel the pressure of what your opponent might do before you do, so you might cast something quicker just to preemptively stop them. Um, you might like if you have the Hydra, but it has a whole bunch of health on it or damage on it, you might quickly try to get the symbols you need so you can heal it before they can do the killing blow. Just little things like that that I don't know any card game that does something like that, so that would be my number 10, Heroes, and just come up like a completely new name.
Yes. All right. My number 10 is going to be my one enigma on this list because this is one I've never played.
Oh, okay.
But it's been one that everybody wants reprinted, a new edition. It's had the old edition, came out in like 2005, and then they did a Kickstarter for it. Oh, it's been a handful of years now ago, and it was a almost failed Kickstarter, and now nobody has the guy that the designer won't give up the rights to the game to be redone. But it's if you like card games, then Glory to Reign. This is one I've wanted to try for a long time, but I mean to get this black version, it's like $300, $400, $500 to get it. You can get the
Yeah.
old basic ugly cartoony version, but I don't want that version. This is the version I want.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much what this game is it's card combos the game. I mean, that's pretty much what. Have you ever played this one?
No,
Okay.
no.
It's from what I understand, because I've watched stuff about this when I was trying to decide if I wanted to spend that much money on it or not. Um, but it's like it's your cards have multi-use, right? So your cards can act as a building or a person or a material resource, stuff like that. So it's multi-use cards. And then you have these crazy ass combos that you can come up with that just is bonkers. And you may think, oh, that game's broken, but somebody else is going to find another card combo that seems broken, and it's just bonkers that way. The
Mm-hmm.
old original art, let's see what picture she put. Okay, this is the original art. Um,
Okay.
so it's like the cartoony kind of characters and stuff. The the black box version, it's all minimalistic and it's all just like a symbol and it's like dark cards and it more sleek looking. Um, but you're just building a civilization. It's your city building game, actually, not civilization. Your city building and managing resources and doing odds and ends. This is one that they I don't know what the issue is, and I don't think Carl Chudik is the guy that made this game, and he doesn't like Cambridge Games, who is the one that did it, and there's this whole issue holding everything up, and I don't know. It may be eventually it will come back, but this is one I really want to get if I can
Yeah.
get it at a reasonable price. Um, but they also they he has Carl Chudik's come out with a couple different versions of this game that kind of
Mm-hmm.
has the same like mechanics, but it's not exactly the same. Like I have Uchronia is one. It's like a dinosaur civilization kind of game where
Okay.
people and dinosaurs live together, and that kind of uses some of the same stuff, from what I understand, but it's not the same. And then there's Montanai is another one. I haven't played that one, but people compare those to being similar to this, but not quite Glory of the Rome.
Yeah, I know there's always a few games that come out that people will compare to this as kind of like,
Mhm.
well, you're not going to get Glory to Rome, but here's these games that basically do what it does.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I've never had a chance to play this or even to get a copy just because, yeah, people know what they have. If they have the black version, they know they
yeah.
could sell it for a lot. Um, I don't know. It is always weird when games like this are made that it's like, why don't you just remake it?
Yeah, it's
Like
just
if the
weird.
system works and you don't have to do anything, then I mean, just find a different publisher to help you just
Well,
actually
'cause
get off the ground because it would make a shit ton of money if it
it's
went on.
mixed in with the publisher. Like there's a contract fight with Cambridge
Gotcha,
Games and Carl Chudik, and neither one of them's budging, and neither one of them refuses to budge. And I think that's where it's stuck.
gotcha,
Um,
gotcha.
no, I can get a copy for $550 on eBay
That's
right now,
true.
and
That's
all it
true.
is a box of cards. It's like
What we
so.
need to
Anyway,
do is we need to meticulously find every single card in the game and just make proxies of them.
a lot of
Be
people
like,
have started doing that because they say if it's not ever going to be reprinted, you're not making money on it. There's nothing.
yeah, nothing stopping you from just printing off your own cards, and it's like, I got my copy.
And
Just
I mean,
take
I could
old,
for $80, I could get this copy, like what's
yeah.
on it, but I just don't
Well,
like
what you
that.
do is you get the you pay $80 for this copy, but then you print off the original cards and you tape them to this game.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing?
So anyway, that's one. It's the only one on this list that I haven't played, but I thought with everybody pining for the another version of this to come out, and that's why it's on this list.
Okay, yeah, yeah, that makes sense to me. My number nine was this is technically a 2-for-1, but it is the exact same game. For some reason, I think it's Arcane Wonders just made two different boxes and then never did anything with it. So the reason it's on this list is I think this is a very cool system that could be done in a much, much better way. Uh, so my number nine is boom,
Oh yeah.
Critical Mass. I picked Patriot versus Iron Curtain because I like this one better between the two boxes. But for some reason, Arcane Wonders released Patriot versus Iron Curtain and uh
What was the other one? I can't remember the name of the other one.
it was Raijin versus Archon.
Yeah.
Um and both of these were, yeah, it's 1v1 mech battles. That utilized, every single mech had its own, yeah, had its own board. It had its own special ability, had its own kind of unique gear that was equipped to it. And your entire uh point was to destroy the other mech. And so each of these cubes is basically the health for that section. If you want to get rid of your opponent's thrusters, for example, to where it can't utilize its like boost card, then you would have to deal damage to that. But that has 3 defense, so it takes a lot longer to remove that, but it's insanely crippling. This, and also there was every character had a deck. Every mech had like its own deck that you could do. You could also, I believe, deck construct. But they had precons that you could just, hey, here's Iron Curtain's pre-made deck. Um, this is such a cool concept, especially because there's not many games that deal with mechs like this, especially in the 1v1 setting. That was relatively thematic. Because you also were trying to outplay your opponent, trying to think what they might do. Um, Perhaps go ahead and do like a quick blast, low damage stun effect, because you think your opponent might do their really heavy like ion beam, attack. Or you might dodge because you think that your opponent might be doing that heavy attack. Or you might recharge because you think your opponent might dodge. So there was a lot of like getting into your opponent's head, thinking what the optimal situation for them was and what you could do to counter that. While also eventually crippling your opponent, removing aspects of what it had available, putting in equipment. This had quite a bit to it as the more I'm talking about, because they're relatively small boxes. The reason why I think this needs a second edition is because how they made this game is so awful. Like the 2 different boxes that you could technically, I mean, you could mix them together, like nothing stopped you from doing that, but they didn't feel balanced that way. They
Hmm.
felt like they were designed to fight one another. Like Iron Curtain was meant to fight the Patriot. Raijin was meant to fight Archon, and if you fought Raijin versus Iron Curtain, it didn't feel quite balanced. I think this game really could come out swinging where you just nix all those separate boxes and you do one big critical mass production where you have 10 unique mechs, like with each of their different special abilities and 4 things. And you can even go further where they're like the Iron Curtain has the weapon mount, main reactor, thrusters, and critical centers, where you could customize your mech.
Hmm.
And you could go like kind of like fuck, just rebrand it and call it Armored Core. Just take an Armored Core, the IP for Armored Core. It's basically that, where you're like, you know what? I'm gonna try an insanely fast light build where if I get hit once, that just blows off a huge piece, but I'm gonna be super fast. I'm gonna eventually meticulously chip away at my opponent. Um, just having a really cool mech game. Now that I'm thinking of Armored Core, like that is a missed opportunity for anyone who's not jumping on that right now.
Yeah.
Because Armored Core 6 is fantastic, and it's entirely around that. Like you're not meant to stick with a particular build, and do not make it a campaign. Like don't do any of that shit. Just 1v1, or you can do free for all or whatever, but primarily 1v1 mech construction with this type of card system, because the system itself was relatively clean. It just kind of fell to the wayside because they just made these and then didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Damn. Now that I mentioned Armored Core, I'm like, man, this game should be higher. Like I should have this way higher on my list. Uh, cause yeah, you could do some really, really cool stuff. Brad, let's do it. Let's play all the Armored Core games. Let's get a hold of From Software. Let's get the IP, design the game.
I've never played Armored Core.
Okay,
Never
that's
have.
fine. I've played 3/4 of the sixth one. So I think we got the knowledge.
What is it on Xbox?
I think so.
Okay, I'll have to
I
look
don't
and
know
see.
if it's on Game Pass, but I know it's on consoles.
Gotcha.
I have it on PC. I mean, it's intense, but like the whole system is designed to be like, unlike Dark Souls or any of those, where you're like, this is my build, and that's it probably will carry you through the whole fight. Armored Core is designed to be like, oh, okay, this mission in particular is gonna destroy super slow tank,
Mhm.
builds. So, because you can buy parts, you sell them for the exact amount that you buy them. You're incentivized to be like, okay, just sell all my heavy parts and buy this really fast lightning wielding mech so I can get through this level. And then you can come across like different other builds, like either online or they have a bunch of different specialized challenges where you just fight another mech and then you can get their builds as like a pre-made mech, which is really cool. Anyway,
Yep.
all that to say, this could be remade as an Armored Core game, uh, and it would be awesome because who doesn't like mechs? Like,
Yeah.
come on. So that's my number 9, Critical Mass.
All right. Good choice. I enjoyed this when we played it. That long
It just
time
kind
ago.
of, I mean, I did too, but it kind of came down to there was nothing stopping you from constantly like boosting out of the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, it was almost like a paper rock scissors, but you could just move constantly, and we just sit there. That game lasted way too damn long when we played that
Exactly.
because we were just
Exactly.
running
And
way
they
faster over
had like some elements to where you could yeah, your cards would eventually go on like cooldown, which is like the discard pile, and then you had to do a recharge action to like get them all back into your hand, but some characters just constantly popped. And then I know one had like a rechargeable shield
hmm
um that that was like his whole shtick was like he just had a force field that was like, oh, this is self-regenerating. It's like, oh God, but if you got rid of it, then it was basically gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely there's something here. I feel like I'm onto something.
All right. Well, my number 9 is a game that came out in 2012. Um, it's widely considered kind of like a oh beginner game, like not beginner, but like to try to get people into board gaming a little bit because it is pretty simple, especially if to get D&D players to come over. Um, and I've enjoyed this over the years a lot, but there's some stuff I would like to see it change, and that is Lord's Waterdeep. Uh,
Nice.
this was it's a super simple, fun worker placement game, with the D&D theme thrown on top of it. What I would like to see with the another edition of this would be to take what they have, and then this game always gets compared to Yido. Um, and Yido to me,
Really?
well, because of the worker placement, like so, like and Yido has theme, right? Like when
Yeah.
you're completing the jobs or whatever in Yido, you may need like there's all these items you need to
Mm-hmm.
complete the deal, right? Well, this one, whenever you're playing Lords of Waterdeep, it inevitably turns into I need 3 purples, 2 blacks, an orange, and a white. And to do this mission that I didn't even read, it's just what it finishes. So it's like
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to if they did something like this, keep it in the Dungeons and Dragons deal, but just try to add some, like with the missions, try to add something more theme related. Um, because pretty much what you're doing is you have your color workers, you're laying them out, you're getting cubes, you're gathering cubes or stuff to spin those cubes to finish missions. I mean, that's virtually what you're doing. I know there's other stuff with it. The Scoundrels of Skullport expansion um, added a bunch to it, making it much more gamery. But as far as the just to get some story elements into the game. Because when you think about Dungeons and Dragons, it's like it's storytelling, it's role
Yeah.
play, and stuff like that. And when you play this game, you don't get that. Um, and I mean, if you like if you look at these cards right down here, in order to do that, you're gonna have to have those cubes and that much money, and then you get this. You
Yeah.
know, that it doesn't really like and they tried, some companies tried to bring theme into this game a little bit by making those D&D pulls, so the meeples
Oh
that are
yeah.
shaped that are
Yeah, the
shaped like
different
that.
little. Yep.
But I still enjoy this game. I play tested the app for this game on iOS, so I've played tons and tons of this game. It's just, if there was just something to add a little more storytelling or theme into it, it would feel more D&D like. Um, and I mean, I don't know what the best way would be, because you're ultimately the the cubes you're getting are the warriors, or the
Yeah.
clerics or the wizards or whatever. Um, which I guess they're using D&D pools out here because they have
Mm-hmm.
wizards and stuff. But like the normal is just like cubes, black cubes, white cubes, stuff like that.
Right.
So I mean that's kind of where I'm at. I think it's been out for what, 12 years now, and people still play it. I mean, I still see it
Mm-hmm.
played. It's
Oh yeah.
just I think if they could just get just update it a little bit,
Yeah, I
make it.
mean, like, well, all Guido does is they have the title of the
Mhm.
mission, and then they have like a small paragraph of like what you're doing. Like whenever it has like, oh, here's everything you're trying to do, or all the equipment and locations you need, and then you can read out what happened.
Yeah,
Like, just gives that little zhuzh of flavor. So it's like, oh, okay, well, that's why I needed 14 throwing stars. That's cool.
right. And then
Um,
I think also, Yudo has that option. It's an optional thing. Those events, like the things that pop up.
oh
Where,
yeah,
yeah, this doesn't have that. So it's like that would be something simple, a modular expansion to throw at this, that, oh shit, some of the houses can't be used because of a flood, or something, or
yeah,
something like that. Just something to kind of change it up a little bit instead of it just
yeah.
being the same thing over and over.
Yeah, that's not horrible. That's not I'd be down for that. Because I mean I have played this game like a few times and I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
played that game and then I moved on. But yeah, I think I mean there's tons of I mean D&D content that you could do
exactly.
to pull flavor text from. And hell yeah, make it modular. Like change up, just do like if it's being I've never had anyone compare this to Ito, but I'm not talking to a bunch of people who play this game a lot. Um, yeah, just have a bunch of different decks that you could shuffle together for your different type of quests that you're going to go on. I mean,
Yep.
because the event deck is also like, hey, here's 8 different event decks, shuffle 2 of them together. There you go.
Right.
And then the missions are the exact same way. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. That'd be pretty cool.
All right. That's my number 9.
Nice. My number 8 is another super old game that when did this come out? Yeah, 2009 is when this one came out. And this was my first ever trade in with like whenever I got in the hobby. Like I don't remember what I traded for this game, but I do still have it, and I probably haven't played it since 2009. No, I didn't get it in 2009. I don't remember when I got it, but it is insanely old, so I have been uh like hyper researching on exactly what like how this game plays again. But for some reason I've kept it, and that is
Oh yeah.
Middle Earth Quest. So, all right, let's look at the designers. Let's see if any of them are still in the in the hobby
Corey
today.
Konnetska and Christian Peterson. Yeah, they are. Christian
Okay.
Peterson was the owner of FFG, and now he started his own company. Corey Konnetska does all the Battlestar Galactica and all those deals and a bunch of others junk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there
So
you
go on.
go. That's that's amazing because this was Fantasy Flight, if you believe it or not. Like this game wouldn't even like I think if someone even brought this game up, I think they just take you out back and shoot you. They're like, "Did anyone hear what that person said?" And they're like, "No, no, Arkham Horror, the card game, promoted right there." And that's what I heard. Uh, yeah. So this is a one versus many game where one person plays as Sauron, and then the other players, kind of like what you were talking about with Star Wars Imperial Assault. The other players play the B team. They play these other heroes that kind of like if you ever played Lord of the Rings: The Third Age on Xbox back in the day, where you were like a separate group of, I don't even think they were real characters in the lore, but you were like following the Fellowship. Because I remember specifically, it's like you would when you went into Mordor, not Mordor, Moria, uh to fight the Balrog, you saw them like on the bridge of Khazad-dûm, and you were like, "Oh, hey, we gotta go help them." And I think you actually fight with Gandalf to fight the Balrog in that game. Anyway, the point of this game is, like I said, it's one versus many. This is all transpiring. Like, what's the theme? It is 10 years after Bilbo leaves the Shire and several years before Frodo leaves Bag End on his journey leading to the destruction of the One Ring. So basically, the theme is Gandalf is trying to gather information on the One Ring and to ensure it doesn't fall into Sauron's hands. And then Sauron is trying to find the One Ring and capture it. So there's these different tracks that Sauron has three different agendas that he can try and do using event cards to move at least one of them to the finale space. And like they have their own specific mission. And the other players, the many people, also have their mission that they're trying to get their track up to the finale. Um, when that track hits the finale spot and you've completed your mission, then that's how you win. But if you make it to the finale spot and you didn't complete your mission, there's like a final fight between the good guys and the bad guys. Um, they have like each character also has like their own special abilities and kind of like their own unique deck of whether they're going to be more combat oriented and more diplomacy oriented. Maneuvering around the board was also pretty unique from what I remember. But as you can clearly see, this has a lot of shit in it. In
Yes.
fact, I believe, is this board two? I want to say this board is two boards. That could be War of the Ring. I know it's War of the Ring for sure, but I couldn't remember if Middle Earth Quest also had that. Um, but basically, what I'm saying is this is a very, very convoluted game. Like it has a bunch of different parts that are well within the rights to have, but I think that you can make a second edition of this game because the theme is really cool. Like it's not War of the Rings, so it's not like, oh, here are the events of Lord of the Rings. And it's not The Hobbit. It's like in that middle area
Mhm.
that is like never touched on. So it's kind of cool that Gandalf is moving around trying to gather information and stop the forces of Sauron from spreading. Um, and I personally didn't mind that you weren't playing um the named people because Journeys of Middle Earth was like a combo. Like you had named characters, but you also didn't have named characters.
Mhm.
Um, I kind of like that you were just other people, whether they were real or not in the lore of Lord of the Rings. It was nice to be like, well, I'm not Aragorn and I'm not Legolas because they weren't in this event. Um, And the fact that it's one versus many, I think, is really, really neat too. Like with the plotting and scheming and card play and setting traps, kind of has a very early Fury of Dracula style, where you're planting various tokens and actions to be able to complete missions and hinder your opponents. Because this also has it to where the heroes are their end game token is moving every single round, but there's ways for like the shadow player to stop that. So it has like a bunch of like small elements of other Fantasy Flight games, like the fact that the Fellowship token is moving every round reminds me of like the round marker in Star Wars Rebellion. That it's like the Shadow Sauron player has like a built-in timer for them to complete their
Right.
mission, but they also have a ton of more options to try and finish theirs before they run out of time. But yeah, this is like, I even pulled up like the rule book. This is like a 40-page rule book.
Holy.
Uh, and I mean, and you're talking about a 40-page rule book from 2009. Like, so it's not oriented in any, it's not like, hey, here's a big example diagram where we're going into meticulous detail on how to explain this. It's like, nope, it's a bunch of text with the smallest picture talking about different plot cards, what you need to complete those, and then different event cards, and then these action tracks, and then how combat works, um, which was kind of like a rock, paper, scissors element with combat. There's a lot to this game. And because it is so old, I mean, hell, if you think about it, in 5 years, I mean, it's 15 years old at this point. I I think this game could definitely be redone, like
Yeah.
streamlined the hell out of, but keep the theme. I actually like the art too. I really enjoy like that really old school fantasy art. Keep that, but you this could just be cleaned up, and for some reason I still have it. Like I don't know why I haven't played it in many, many years. Uh but yeah, that is my number 8 Middle Earth Quest.
My number 8 is actually older than yours.
Is it? I thought you were gonna be like, my number 8 is also Middle Earth
Oh, no,
Quest.
no, I haven't played it. But this game, I thought long and hard about putting it on this list. It's actually a game that I helped make back in the day.
Wow.
It
Way to
was
Well
I'm
then, where's the second edition? Where's the new
the
edition,
company. The
Brad?
company's no longer around. Um, it came out in 2007, and it was from a company called Red Juggernaut that fell apart shortly after the expansion of this game came out. But I, yeah, I played more games of this than I, want to admit to, just in the play testing and getting it all designed out and stuff. But my thing is, the reason I put this on this list is because, I mean, back in 2007, it was a game of that time. Nowadays, it's not. I still have everything for it, but it came out pre Kickstarter craze. I think, like, if they were to redo this game and make it updated, with today's stuff and put it on Kickstarter, I actually think it would do well. And that is Batuu, Storm of the Horse Lords. Um,
This isn't real. This isn't
it is
you
real.
who made this.
I have
You
it.
made this cover.
There's a BGG entry right there. It Miniature Market was selling it for a while because they bought all that leftover stock of it and everything. But
Oh, Batu?
Batuu,
Oh, okay. I thought it was
Battu.
Battle.
No. So pretty much what this game is it's a pretty simplistic game. I mean, like BGG has it as a 2 in weight. I mean, it's pretty simplistic. But what you're doing more or less is you are playing the invaders of this city called Tarsus, and you're invading. You have to get through the wall and all that stuff, and then the map is broken up into different shaped quadrants that are face down. So you have to get through the walls first, and then when you get in there, if you move your horde onto so that flips. You have to do some stuff. If you end up beating it, then you get to put a flag down, and that gives you an ability that you have. Those can be taken away from you from other players. So it's competing hordes going into this city. There's card play, like take that card play that'll, help you in a battle, hinder somebody. It could kill certain units off the board. There's a lot of take that with it. This is one of those games that's best played with 4. I mean, just because 2 is horrible and stuff. But You can get loot. There's all different versions of buildings. You can let the layout's going to be different every time. You just kind of throw it out there and make it all fit. But that was 2007. Like right now, if they updated this and made it to where the replayability was more, and they had just like streamline stuff a little more. I'm not saying it would make a ton of money on a Kickstarter project, but it's like, I think it would be something that would probably succeed on Kickstarter, just not
So
overwhelmingly.
the layout of this game and kind of what you were talking about of controlling various factions or various buildings. There was a game that came out way later in like 2013 by Plaid Hat, I believe, called. Did you ever play City of Remnants?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
That this reminds me of that.
a little bit. Yeah,
Of kind of
I see
like
that.
but I mean that one's about gangs and you
Yeah.
control different locations and you would have like skirmishes between various gangs. But that game was bad. But
Yeah.
I'm getting like similar vibes from that
This one was
on this
more.
one.
Oh yeah, that one had a lot. The City of Remnant stuff, like it had the I'm trying to remember because there was like the policing force that would drop down, and then
Yeah,
it
if you
was
like had too many gang fights, the police would like kick down
yeah,
the door. And that one also had like permanent death, which was kind of neat, where if your characters took too much damage, they were removed from your deck
yeah.
because they'd be killed. Um, that's all I remember about that. But this one with the different like controlling buildings, this is weird, man. This is a weird one.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. I think it's just I wanted to put it on here because it did disappear, but it was good. It was solid, I thought, back in that day,
Hmm.
and that's been what, 17 years ago.
Yeah.
So like I think if it got retooled a little bit, Jim is the designer of this, and he has been part of a few other designs. He did like a Crimson Skies was a big thing. It was like a miniatures plane battle
Okay.
game. He did that. He did there was a Battlestar Galactica collectible card game he was part of, and he did some BattleTech stuff. So I mean
Yeah.
he's done some stuff. Right now I think he works for MMO, an MMO company. He used to
Okay.
work for DC, the DC Online stuff, but anyway, um, but yeah, it's just one I think if it was updated and a lot of the rules updated, I think it has a spot possibly to make it in here. I'm not saying it's not gonna be a great game, but it'd be neat to see it come out with a little better, more polish and stuff with it. But,
Sure. All
but yeah,
right.
I'll have to let you play it sometime because
That's okay.
I have it in the walls
I
of
appreciate
Tarsus.
you. One, if you're saying it's trash at two, then
Yeah, you need at
that's
least three, but four is best because if you have three, then you have that classic, 2-on-1
hmm.
deal and stuff. So four is the best because you each come in from a side of the city,
So how do you
and
win?
you win by taking over the there's key parts of the city. There's certain buildings that you need to
Okay.
get. If you have control, all the buildings have control. Then you just come down to that.
Okay.
It's like they're worth points. So like the center of the map is like the castle or whatever, so that's worth the most points. But once that
Okay.
game is triggered, because not all the tiles will get flipped
Yeah.
at the end. Once the game end is triggered, then you add up all your points to the buildings you do
I
control.
gotcha.
Stuff like that.
Did the buildings have like special abilities on
Yes,
them?
every one of them
They did.
does. Yep,
Okay.
yep. So I mean, there was stuff
That's
there.
kind of cool. I mean, if you had a bunch of just different polyomino pieces and you didn't quite know what the buildings did,
Hmm.
that could be kind of exciting of which ones you would go after and
Yeah, and
how which entry
they
of the city you're going to come in.
they had an expansion that came out right before the building went down the company went down called the Walls of Tarsus, and it added like special walls and stuff and more
Okay.
cards and stuff like that. But I have all of it. I just keep it for nostalgia's sake.
That's fair.
Yep.
Okay. My number 7. This would be the this is not the crossover I think we're gonna have. But if there were to be another crossover, I think it would be this one. And this is a game that both you and I really like. I think I still have it. It came out with one expansion that was basically shit. Like no reason to have this expansion when there were other expansions to make. Very unique theme, and I think that this has is really ripe, mainly just for more content. But to get more content, probably at this point, you just need to make a new edition. And probably just zhuzh it up with better art and stuff. So my number 7 is
Oh yeah.
Adrenaline.
Yeah. I didn't put this on my list, but it's a good choice.
Yeah, so it's by CGE, which I just recently played another CGE game, and it's amazing that they never go on Kickstarter, and they must have an in-house factory because I don't know how all of their games look like they're from the same game. Like all their production pieces are like the exact same. It's wild. Uh, but this is kind of your first person shooter, the game. It's really a kind of like a resource management whenever you're dealing with um, ammo. But they they were able to really capture the feeling of a first person shooter, like a free for all running around a map to pick up weapons and use those unique weapons and its various types of ammo to deal damage and kill your opponents. It's such a high energy game with while still being clean. I mean, if CG is known for one thing, I think it's making very clean games. Uh, and what's cool about this one is, like I said, it's a first person shooter. I mean, they have melee weapons and stuff too, but whenever you are attacking your opponents, when they die, like at the very bottom right, the gray player, when he dies, like he's going to be worth 8 points to the person who dealt the most damage to them. But then he respawns and now he's only worth 6 points. So you have diminishing returns, so it prevents people from just hyperfixating on you because it's like, okay, yeah, you could kill me, I'm worth 2 points though, whereas that person's still worth 8. Genius system to completely fix any type of, you know, gang up tactics. But the reason why I think that this game could come out with a new edition is so they could make more maps. Like
Yes.
this game had two, it was double-sided, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They had one board, two maps, and it and I don't even think the maps had anything special about them. I think it was just a small different layout.
Yeah. It was. One of them had
Uh
like a hall, I think if I remember right, there was like a divider, so you couldn't just go like it changes like where the doors were.
right.
So you can, you know,
Yeah, I mean, because like I know the rule like is if you're standing in the spot with the doorway, you can shoot anywhere into the room. But like man, like this game was begging for map packs and booster packs for weapons, like a armory deck of just way more weapons, way more. I mean, you could really just go ham on a game like this because the actual mechanisms were so solid that you didn't need to add any more to that. Just come out with a new map. Like, hey, here's the core game map. Like the two layouts are a little bit different. That's enough. But then you do a map pack, come out with two double-sided boards. So you have four maps, and then you can add rules to the maps, make them unique. Hey, this map has uh I don't know. And I'm just totally ripping off of Helldivers, an ion storm that prevents use
yeah.
of equipment for a round or something.
Anti-gravity, like an anti-gravity room. Makes
Yeah,
things like weird.
right. Just a teleporter. I mean, something like just stuff on the map that you could do, like, hey, this lets you teleport from this region, this area to this area. Um, like you could do something really cool where you have like the base map and then you have a little side map where it's like, hey, this is actually the upstairs. You have to take the grav lift to get up here. Just they really could have put in a bunch of that, and the weapons were all unique. They felt different. They all had special cool powers. I believe there was like a gravity hammer in one of
Was
them.
there was.
That required you to run around, pick up different ammo. Because you weren't meant to stick with the same gun. Like it's like, oh, out of ammo, and then you just run and pick up a new weapon. Just very frantic like that. So come out with a massive deck of weapons. You could make it to where the characters like kind of like what they did with Lost Ruins of Arnak. Of hey, now the characters have special abilities. So you can pick based off of that. Man, yeah, this one hurts that because they came out with like a team DLC thing that's like, okay, this isn't what anyone wanted, like at all. And I know CGE doesn't really do expansions, so which is a shame.
They
I
do
do still
for
have
art.
this game too. Uh, but they could have came out with modes too, like 1v1 modes, because it was basically not great with two. When did this game even come out? I'm gonna say 2011. I'm not even. It's 2016. 2016, and its expansion came out in 2018.
Yoda's saying hi.
Oh, hi! Hi, Bubba.
Get away.
I wasn't looking, and I thought you had a Yoda puppet. Yoda saying hi. Okay, are you doing all right? Mm. Anyway, that's my number 7, Adrenaline. This man would love a second edition with more content.
Yeah, if I would have thought about this, it would have been on my list. It's one of those, the maps. It's just gotta have the maps, man.
Yeah, if you want to play, I mean, granted, I could pick up this game and play it like right now and have a blast because I haven't touched it in years.
Yeah,
Um, I wouldn't be like itching for more maps, since I'm not playing it all the time. But eventually I would. Or, I mean, if you don't want to go the route of trying to design new maps, then you just make more weapons. You do
right,
special powers, like you support the game.
right.
I don't know, maybe I don't know. CG is still around, so they must be making money. They
Well,
haven't
Arnak,
resorted
Arnak.
to crowdfunding to make money, so yeah, I guess this was just who's the designer? Philip Nuddick.
I have no idea what he's done.
I'm gonna pull him up. Philip Nedick. He did Sanctum.
Oh, CGE though. He's the Kapinski of CGE, right?
That's two. That's two. That's true. That's it. Like though, so he did Sanctum
Yeah,
or in Goblins Inc., but no one knows what that is. Essentially, that must have been his first game. So he has Adrenaline with like 3 promo cards, the Team Play DLC, and then Sanctum,
yeah.
which Adrenaline came out, yeah, in 2016. It has a 7 out of 10 on Board Game Geek, and Sanctum came out in 2019. It has a 7.1. So, I mean, based off rankings from years ago with way more reviews, Adrenaline, I mean, I think this would do well. I think this would do well. So, all right, that's it.
All right.
All this list is going to make me do is be mad that these editions don't
Yeah, it's
exist.
true. So my number 7 is a game I know you don't like, but it's been years since you played it. I haven't played it in quite a while. It used to be in my top 100. It's not anymore just because I don't play it that often. But it is another Fantasy Flight game that could do with the new edition because there's a fabulous TV show using this IP now that just came out yesterday. And that is Fallout. Have you watched any of the show yet?
Oh,
Oh God, it's so good.
I don't watch TV Like all my content comes from YouTube.
Well, anyway, this is one of those games I was super excited when they announced it because I've played every Fallout game that's come out except for 76 because I refuse to play that one for
Yep.
moral reasons. But the when Fantasy Flight announced this, I was jumping out of my pants. I mean, it was like and they all the pics of the game when they were showing the gameplay and stuff just was awesome looking, thematic wise hits it. They came out with the expansions that kind of helped out with some stuff, made it good soloable. The one thing I think they need to do though with this game, and the reason it's on here, is not necessarily to change a lot of the gameplay because the gameplay I didn't think was bad.
Oh,
the
I did,
thing,
but
the thing that I think they need to do is the story decks, like the location stuff, because like it didn't make a lot of them didn't make sense. Like it didn't. Um,
oh yeah, this was, oh my God, I forgot. Because they had like that big deck of
yeah,
like numbered event cards because they did that
yes,
with Arkham Horror Third Edition,
hmm
and they're not making that any more content for that game
yeah.
either.
But like, and then you keep running into the same things a lot of times too.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Well, it was semi-cooperative, wasn't it? Also, or it wasn't
kind
semi.
of.
No, it was competitive.
It's competitive. I mean, you can help kill a big death claw or something together, but
Yeah.
ultimately you're your own
Yeah, that's
scavenger.
right. Because I hated the fact that it's like you could be on the way end of the map and start a quest that happens to be where I'm at, and I can finish it.
And there's different stuff. Yeah, so there's stuff like that. Like when I play it solo though, because nobody else will play it
Okay.
with me. so
Yeah.
so I run through that, but you just see a lot of the same crap, and you see, a lot of the mechanics I like with the VAT system in the video game where you get to pick what body part you're shooting. Like you roll
It was
dice and
percentage based off dice, right?
yeah, and so it
Yeah.
would take out the legs or whatever. The characters had their own abilities. You could level them up constantly, get them new weapons and stuff. It was just one of those. I really liked the game, but the story element of it is what I think needs refreshed. And
Yeah, they made like 2 expansions for it, didn't
yeah,
they?
there's New California, which adds some more tiles and cards and stuff. And then they came out with the one that I really liked was the Atomic Bonds. Because the Atomic Bonds expansion it added a ton for the solo players. Like it made it
Okay.
so that's almost, if you're going to play it solo. I mean, that's why it's rated as that expansion is rated as high as it is because it made the game work.
Gotcha.
But
Man, you can tell that I've gotten like a lot nicer over the years for my channel because I pulled this up and I gave it a 2.
yeah, I knew you didn't
It's
like
like
it back in the
and
day.
I'm like when I saw that I'm like that's it's not a 2.
Yeah,
I do not like this game. I mean uh but I mean I played this when it came out, so that would have been, yeah,
2017
7 years
something
ago. I
like
would have been
that.
23, angsty, early
Yes.
early 20s. Was just horned up the whole time. So I'm like, this game didn't make me horny. Uh, but I mean, I'd probably give it a 4. You know what? I
Yeah.
will. I'll bump it up to a 4. There you go. Um, but I also played it with 3,
Yeah.
and clearly, uh, everyone says it's best solo, which makes sense because it's a solo video
Yeah,
game.
exactly. That's my thing. And it's just that's it. I love the production of it. I love the look. They do the aesthetic for Fallout really well
Yeah,
on
the I forgot about the VATs, like the dice. That's cool. Like
yeah.
that's a simple way to do it. Be like, I'm gonna go for the head.
hmm
Like it'll kill this guy if I hit him. But I have a very low chance of actually getting those. Yeah, I mean, how else would you do? I mean, you could do percentiles,
Yeah.
but that would make it more mechanical. The dice, unique dice were neat. Yeah, I and Destiny's did that same quest shit where
Yes.
it's like I started this. It's like, how do I know about that? Like, like that should be personal to you. Like you went to the nuclear power plant. There should only be events in there for people who go there. And it's like, oh, now I'm gonna try and complete this.
Yeah. So
I mean, hell, or I mean, you could also do the same thing where you want to share quests because it is competitive and make it to where it's like specifically designed events where it's like the nuclear power plant. You went there first, you get the quest, but it doesn't lock it to anyone. If I go to the nuclear power plant and try and race you to complete the quest, at least I still have to go there first, where it's just like, oh, please, my family's at the farm. Huh, the farm's right next to me. I guess I'll go ahead and complete that. It's like, what?
yeah, I know.
But I guess you're playing
That's
solo. Who cares?
yeah. So anyway, that's where I'm at with this one. It's Fantasy Flight, so they're never gonna do anything new with this. But
No, they'll make
yeah,
a living card game.
yeah, that whole man. A Fallout living card game. Talk about a money sink.
Fucking
But yeah,
Fallout living card game, you say?
but I almost bought some of the commander decks that are in that Fallout for Magic because they have
Oh,
Fallout
I didn't know they
coming out.
collabed with Fallout.
I think it's getting ready to come out. I don't know if it's out yet.
Okay.
They
I know
announced
they've done D&D.
ones.
What's the newest one? They did Marvel.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah,
Fallout's a good one.
I thought that would be kind of a neat one. But
Yeah.
anyway, so Fallout, my number 7. If you haven't watched the TV show and if you like Fallout, you gotta watch it. It's super,
Not a
super.
sponsor. I wish they were. Man, if I was sponsored by the Fallout show, so I did something
Amazon
right.
Prime. Amazon
If
Prime.
Amazon, yeah,
That's a
guys,
good-
I'm fucking quitting my actual job. Like this is what I'm doing forever because I'm sponsored by Amazon. Yeah, I'd be rich. Um, God, I wonder how much like one sponsor from them would net me.
oh,
Like probably a good amount.
probably.
All right. My number 6 is my only second edition game. And
Okay.
again, I really stayed because there were a lot. There were a lot of like second editions I saw that I'm like, yeah, maybe a third edition. Um, but I didn't want to just have games that already had second editions, but this one, I think it's because I recently have played it, and I think this is mainly just for production value. I just really want a really sexy deluxe version that isn't $2,300. Um, and so my number 6 is War of the Ring. And I just played the new expansion that they finally released after many, many years. Um, and so the game itself, I only have like one. No, you can go watch my recent discussion of War of the Ring, but essentially, I just want better components. I want better cards that aren't faded backs because they had different printings. I want a better insert. I want better miniatures that aren't the softest plastic that doesn't feel like they're made out of Play-Doh. I want a better board that doesn't look like dog shit because again, this is a pretty much a third edition complete production overhaul. The art, keep it. Like I said, I love that old fantasy art. I know like people shit on Dominion, people shit on Defenders of the Realm. I love that kind of stuff. The art here, when they do have it, is really good. But man, the models for these units are horrible. For the Sauron units, they pretty much all look the same. For the heroes, they are even worse, where it's like, what's a Gondor regular unit and a Northman or like the and it's like, oh, it's the you know faded icon on the shield. It's like, oh my God. And I know people have like printed the or painted like the bases because like each region has a color like the dwarves are. In this case, it looks like they completely painted all the units in this picture. Um, but make the units just an actually good standard thing where you can completely tell who is what without having to go out and just dip all your minis in just one paint. Just throw a handful of them in like a big old paint thing and then just fish them out. Uh, and then if mechanics wise, I think that this game needs to be the only thing that I would change is its combat. Its combat is what it uses cards, so it gives you some mitigation on rerolls or chances, but it literally is D6s. Oh, you hit on 5 or 6s. Oh, but I played a combat card that makes me hit on 4 5s and 6s. That is so fucking lame.
Doesn't
Like,
this have action allocation dice too?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, I couldn't
Yeah,
remember.
because at the beginning of the round, both players roll their dice, and what's printed on the icon on the dice are the actions you can take. Um, I like that. That part's fine. It's literally just whenever you go to fight, because this is a war game. When you're fighting, it's literally like, oh, I have this many units, I get to roll 5d6s.
Gotcha.
That's so just lazy. I think a third edition could really at least do what like um Summoner Wars second edition did. At least make unique dice. If you don't
Mhm.
want to completely just do a whole convoluted combat system, just be like, okay, I have these types of units that's gonna let me hit with an arrow symbol and a sword symbol. Just something like that instead of just regular fives and sixes. That just makes it feel dated. I wouldn't change the political track. I like that. I wouldn't really change the siege thing. I think I mean I kind of would, but um really just how combat is done would be the only mechanical change, but really I want a third edition just as a deluxe option, like with a
Yes.
really sexy insert for all the expansions for it.
You just need to spend a
Uh
couple $1,000 and get that
get the
badass wooden
painted
case
that
one.
yeah, that's really what I need to do. You know what, maybe if I sell my house, then I'll just find someone selling a collector's edition, just pop a couple grand towards them. No, because then as soon as I do that, so they're gonna announce a third edition for War of the Ring. Going on GameFound, Awaken Realms is picking this game up to do a deluxe copy. That'd be my luck, and then I would probably just family annihilate. Not my family. I'll family annihilate the guy I bought the collector's edition from. It's Adam Kwapinski or whatever. He knew he knew he was making the game, the third edition. He's like, yeah, man.
Maybe Fantasy
Anyway,
Flight will do it since it's Lord of the Rings and they have that license.
no, they have their well, they do have the license actually. Now that but there's War of the Ring, the card game, which is by
Which is Ares.
Ares.
Ares, which is who does it. Yeah,
Right,
that's
which is who did this. But yeah, I actually didn't think about that. That both of them have the IP, the Lord of the Rings.
yeah,
Huh. I don't
interesting.
know. I haven't tried the War of the Ring card game. It does not look good to from everything I've seen because I was like, oh, maybe it'll completely replace this. I am not sold on it, but maybe I just need to play it. And I'm like, oh, never mind.
I had actually thought about because the new expansion that just came out makes it soloable. So I
Oh
thought
wow,
about doing it, but then I was like, I have all this Lord of the Rings card game stuff now, so I'm like, nah, I'll
that's
just
true.
stick with that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know because yeah, it like the new game required like teams. Like it was like by design, it was team based.
Right,
And team based games are very like your game has to be amazing for me to want to own that because it's never getting played.
right.
Anyway, my only second edition game on this list, War of the Ring.
All right, my number six is just gonna be a it's gonna be a short and sweet one. Because I'm gonna stand on the hill that this game still needs redone. I don't give a crap if Fantasy Flight doesn't want it anymore, or if they don't have the deal. Somebody needs to take it with this IP and
Mm.
redo this goddamn game. And that's Battlestar Galactica. I know Unfathomable came out,
I'm like,
but
they did. They did
but
redo
I
it.
but I have way too many Cthulhu based games. Like to me, I haven't played Unfathomable, but this this game encapsulated the TV series to a freaking T. Like and I don't know. I mean, I know that obviously it's because Battlestar Galactica is. I think owns Battlestar Galactica now because they do all the flight game and the flight battle simulation game with this and everything.
Hmm.
But I just want without having to spend 500 damn dollars to get the this and the expansions to play this version of this game. Um, I'm sure Unfathomable is great. I know you like it, and I'm sure I would have fun with it. But if I want to
I
play
mean, if you're
Cthulhu,
talking about like which game encapsulates the theme more, it's this one.
right?
Mechanics, they're pretty much identical.
Yeah,
But yeah, Battlestar Galactica, you're way more invested. in the overall theme
Yeah, it's
versus
just yeah.
just, oh, you're a cultist. It's like, yeah, okay, I say that all the time in every single Lovecraft game.
Well, and the Cylon stuff, I think leads to a better hidden thing, just because that's what the
Yep.
series really was, with the
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And like I said, I'm not going to harp on this one. This one's one that I wish, you know, I want this in my collection now, but I
Yeah.
can't just because I don't want to spend the money on it, and it'll never.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it. Just because of the show itself, like most games that take this kind of photo realistic like art, usually it's like, oh God, but this game made it work, and just the theming of the show really popped out when someone is like randomly giving Gaius Baltar, you're like traitor or Cylon. It's
Exactly.
like immediately. It's just like what does that mean? It's just like we're not even talking to you anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
It's like
that's
you
funny.
just meta knowledge so hard. They're like, I'm not a Cylon. Sure, sure.
The very first
Lock
time
him
I
up.
played this, I hadn't watched the show yet. Like I played this pre me watching the show the
Hmm.
very first time, and after playing it that one time, I went and I watched it all, and then that just made it the next time I played it a couple weeks later was like just so awesome to play
Yeah.
with all the stuff with this, and I'm never gonna get this, so I just need to play Unfathomable. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just have being able to have the character, you know, that character, the personal connection with the characters from watching all that stuff, I think is everything. Plus, I like sci-fi better than Cthulhu anyway. So,
Hmm.
overall, but
Yeah. I'm
anyway,
very curious to see what the Unfathomable expansion brings
mhm,
because I know not every expansion for Battlestar Galactica was good, but there was one that's like, this is the one you need.
mhm.
I wonder if Unfathomable is basically going to take that expansion for Battlestar and just kind of, reskin it for Unfathomable.
Maybe they'll bring Cylons in. Then I'm in. If they bring Cylons in the Cthulhu deal, I'll be in.
Right?
So,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, good pick. Good pick. All right. My number five, I think this was actually the newest game. Yeah, this is the newest game on my list that I was talking about. Uh, which apparently, yeah, this one came out, I guess in 2019 as well. And it's technically had two other versions it, just they're rethemed, but it's basically the same game. I think that they really, again, kind of like with Critical Mass, it's like, who is making these decisions? This is a really stupid way to go about this when you had something just way like that would have worked way better. So my number five is
mm,
Horrified. And what I'm talking about is they have released American Monsters, Horrified American Monsters, and Horrified Greek Monsters. And Greek Monsters, I think, came out last year.
yeah.
Uh, they're standalone games, but they are not backwards compatible. Like you cannot, if you own all three, you cannot combine them. And that is so dumb. Like that is just, it blows my mind that you cannot mix like, because this one comes with six monsters.
Uh,
Uh Frankenstein,
yes,
Wolfman, Mummy, Dracula,
five
Invisible
and six.
Man, and the Mummy. Oh, the Mummy's right there. Is there six? Go back to the cover,
I'm sorry.
please. Frankenstein. Oh, Swamp Man. Um, well, one, two, three, four, five. Yeah, yeah. So the Swamp Man, like. So I'm assuming because you have the Bride and Frankenstein,
Yeah.
Dracula, the Mummy, Invisible Man, Werewolf, and then the Swamp.
Yep. Yep. No, you're right.
So you have those six, and I'm assuming the other two also have six. If you
Yeah,
had made that
they
where
do.
um then you have 18 monsters that you could just shuffle together and have, I mean, because your difficulty is just determined on how many you have. You can have two monsters you have to deal with up to four. So if you had 16 monsters that you could, if you're trying to on the hardest difficulty, just pick four of them, you could have whatever Greek monster, the Minotaur, Dracula, uh, the oh God, I'm trying to think of an American because it was the Bigfoot,
Yeah.
sure, and Wolfman, and you have those four, and you have completely unique puzzles for each one of them to deal with, and that I mean you have like such variability when you're playing this game because the concept's going to be the same. You shuffle in the the events based off of who the monsters are anyway. Your characters you play could be unique too. It just blows my mind. If they want to do standalone expansions where you don't have to own Horrified to then also play the Greek Monsters one, that's perfectly fine. But it's insane that they did not make it to where you can combine them
Yeah.
like that. That is just it's so weird
Well,
weird to
I
me.
can tell you because, and I'm not saying this is exactly right, but when this game first came out, it was the Target exclusive. And like, it went straight to Target and it's a big box store game, right?
Yeah.
So they need to keep it under a certain price point.
Yeah.
And then also the more SKUs you have, if they buy three $40 games, that's $120 you're spending, and somebody's not going to spend $120 on a box full of stuff. So it's like business wise, I can see why they did it. It doesn't, I mean, it doesn't
Well, I
make
mean, I'm not
sense.
saying,
Or,
but
yeah,
that's the thing. It's like, okay, well, then you don't make the other two expansions. You just
that's
make them stand alone. Like, then make it compatible. Because
right.
then if people are going out and buying this game, like families and stuff, then that means that they're able to grasp and they like it.
Hmm.
And then, but who wants to own 3 copies of Horrified that like that they can't do anything with except play it within the self-contained thing? Like you could also make it because where I mean, I guess like because some characters do use the map a little bit different,
Yeah,
um that would might make it a little bit weird. So that's why it's on here. Second edition,
yeah.
you design it to where all the characters or all the monsters can be combined, kind of like what they did. Like there's so much shit for Unmatched now that I want to get it because I've played the Cobble and Fog Unmatched and I thought it was fine in like a skirt like 1v1 kind of like I like the movement system, the color coded thing, but I love the idea of that game, the theming of taking uh God, I don't there's so much
Bruce Lee against like,
Sherlock Holmes.
yeah,
Like that that kind of stuff is so cool. Of taking those, you know, you, well-known IPs and have them battle against one another. That's really, really neat. And you kind of have a similar concept here, except it's cooperative. So I think a second edition where they just kind of keep the core thing here. Like I actually like the simplicity of the game and the puzzle aspect of all the monsters, but just make it to where you can combine it all and it all works on the various maps and then I think you're golden.
yeah,
But
yeah.
other than that, that's my number 5, Horrified.
All right, my number five is a game that's no longer around. It's another Corey Konecka game. So back-to-back Koneckas. Um,
Back to
and
off of your number 6?
yeah, because he did Battlestar Galactica
Oh,
too.
okay.
So this one is one that I love. I still have it. I don't have everything for it because the little expansions for it are a pack of 50 cards, and people are wanting like $150 for 50 cards. It's ridiculous. Um,
Oh,
it's
I
a
know.
small,
I know
it's a
what it
small,
is.
yeah, small box game. It's not going to be made by Fantasy Flight anymore because they lost um, their Games Workshop partner. But I think bringing a game like this back and just updating a little bit more stuff would just make it sweet. And that's Space Hulk Death Angel.
This was on my short list. I did think about this one. But I was kind of there. So, do you ever pick games that you think I'm going to talk about so you don't pick it?
I don't look at your. I don't look at
No,
your.
I know you don't look at my list, but I'm like, I bet you Brad's going to talk about Space Hulk, so I specifically
Oh,
didn't, so I could
really?
talk about a different game.
No, what I do is I make a list of I make a big list of games I'm going to qualify, and then I start kicking them out one at a time. I don't really pay attention to what you know that,
Gotcha.
but yeah. So anyway, this is one that really think. I almost put. I didn't put it on here, but I almost put Blood Bowl Team Manager too.
Mm.
But one of them's. I mean, they're both in the same boat as far as that goes. But this one, great solo game, and just having more stuff thrown into it. It doesn't even have to stay in this small box because you couldn't fit all the crap in
Yeah.
this tiny box anyway. So you could put it in a box like a Res Arcana size box or something, that's
Hmm.
a little bit bigger that you can put all the stuff in. Get some more of the Death Angel characters in there and stuff, just to have more choices and more uh, alien groups and stuff like that. But and then get a better damn die, because that's the one thing that die is worth it. I'm telling you, whenever you play
It's
it. But
evil.
I don't even use the die that came with it because it landed so much on the bad number like all the time.
Right.
But yeah, this is just one that I don't know where it would stand. I don't know if Fantasy Flight has the deal or Games Workshop. It's going to be a Fantasy Flight thing. So maybe if they even rebranded it and did something different,
It'll be Cthulhu. It'll be Lovecraft.
or Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
or maybe if they did a Netrunner one, that would be. Or okay, they can't do Netrunner. Never mind. But
Nope.
anyway, this is just one. Sorry, didn't touch a picture. But you just line up your team guys, and the thing I think was cool about this was your facing mattered.
Yeah.
So you could get flanked by bad guys, and then they would hurt you worse, and just stuff like that. It was just a really cool game, and not just playing it solo, playing it 3 or 4 players was a blast too, because you each had
Yeah.
your own team, and you really, there's a lot of teamwork and coordination going with it. And this one came out in 2010, so it's pretty old too.
Hmm.
But I just wish I could get a hold of those two damn expansions. That's all I need, is those 2 little pack expansions, and I would be happy as ever. But right now, this is where it stands, and I would be thrilled if they would come out with some more content for it, and maybe a better storage solution for all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I thought about this one as well. Um, and it certainly would do well, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm all for anything that fucks over scalpers.
yeah, yeah,
Like
for sure.
oh, new edition. Yeah, hey, by the way, now no one's buying your shit. Um, so yeah, I agree. Good pick. My number 4 is funny enough, another Fantasy Flight game. Um, and this one they really could do, and I think that they might at some point. Um, this is not a game that already has a second edition, because I also think they'll do that one as a third edition. But this one would be mainly to streamline it a lot, because right now it's insanely bloated and they could clean it up a lot more. And that is
Yeah.
Eldritch Horror. So funny enough, hey, look, Corey Konetska. What the fuck is he doing? Like, okay, Corey, come on.
He just likes to make games, then put them on the shelf and let them get.
He's like, anyway, that was my Coke fueled design that I made. So anyway, just gonna move on to something else. Um, okay, so what if? Anyway, so funny enough, Eldritch Horror is kind of a second edition in and of itself, because it was to clean up Arkham Horror.
Mhm.
And they're like, all right, cool. And it did. Like, when this game came out, it was just the base game. And I remember I had this one and Arkham Horror at the same time. I had everything for Arkham Horror Second Edition. And I was like, man, I like, they play so different. I don't know which one I like more. And then Eldritch Horror kept getting expansions. And I'm like, Okay, well, I like Eldritch Horror more. So end up getting rid of Arkham Horror Second Edition. And now we're in that same exact boat, funny enough, where it's like, okay, what are they gonna make that's gonna replace Eldritch Horror as a board game? It's like, okay, guys, Eldritch Horror is a little bit too bloated. We're gonna now do this game that's the same concept, but now it's streamlined. It's like, yeah, until you overbloat it. Well, Fantasy Flight doesn't really have, I don't think, the money or the, well, no, they definitely have the money. They don't have the passion anymore to make a new streamlined game like this and then put more content in it.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so there's a ton of stuff for this game. They did, I mean, they have a bunch of prelude cards that are essentially ways for you to like manage all your expansions because you're not supposed to just throw every expansion into the, into the game. It's like if you want the like the Egypt sideboard, you're technically supposed to draw that as your prelude card, and that kind of will randomize the setup. But as you can clearly see, this doesn't have any of those expansions, as far as I can tell. Look at that table, man.
I know.
It's insane. But this does role playing kind of and storytelling in a very condensed version. It's not a campaign game, but I think that if they came out with a second edition, Elder Horror second edition, they could completely like clean it up, find a way to streamline it to where, I mean, the action system of this is so stupid because it's like you can do two actions, but you can't do the same action. So getting anywhere to deal with something is so slow. Like you kind of repeat actions a lot where it's like gonna prepare for travel, gonna get a train ticket, then I'm gonna move. That was like your way of moving fast was, hey, I'm gonna move along here and I'm gonna spend the train ticket to move along the railroad. Yeah, it was kind of thematic, but if you had two monsters in your space, it's like, can I fight them both? Can I like just ways that they could make the game shorter would be awesome. Because I love the amount of content in this game. I love the fact that your location decks are 50 cards. Um, and stuff like that. So it it's all here. Like I actually really still like this game a lot. But I think a second edition for it to streamline it, make it shorter, not as convoluted to try and set up because it's like, okay, like here's my art, here's my enemy, and I have all these mystery cards, but how do they come out? Like, okay, if what happens if like there's just a lot of just weirdness. Um, that just feel a little bit dated at this point. But there's still a lot of cool stuff that this one has. I think I think it is ripe for a second edition at this point. But maybe Arkham Horror third edition, maybe that put a pause because it did not do that great. I know a lot of people didn't really like third edition.
They
So,
tried to change it too much from what I hear. I
oh,
mean, I didn't
they
play it, but
did.
yeah.
Yeah, it was brutal. They made it to where like they did it kind of like a Fallout thing, where
Mhm.
like you set up a scenario kind of, and you had just a deck of numbered event cards, and it was the brilliancy of Arkham Horror Second Edition and Eldritch Horror is the fact that every game is going to feel different,
Right.
and Third Edition Arkham Horror did not feel different, and it felt slow as well. Like I don't know. It just didn't do amazing, so maybe that's what they were gonna do with a second edition Eldritch, and they're like, ugh, let's not put any effort into that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
this is one I want to try sometime. I mean, I have never played this one, so at some point.
That is wild to me. That is
I've
wild
owned
that
it.
you
I've
have
owned
not.
it twice, but I never did play it.
Well, it's because it's like I know I have everything for it, but I know like the friends down um in Joplin and stuff, I know that they own it. So I'm
I
just
don't think
amazed
they
that you
do
guys have
anymore.
never. Huh?
I don't think they do anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, then never mind. Never mind. But yeah, that's my number four, Eldritch Horror.
All right. My number four is the one that I think might be our crossover.
Okay.
Um, I think because we've had this conversation before. Um, so if it's not on your list, you maybe overlooked it. But it's a game that I own everything for still. And it's just pretty damn clunky. But I
Pretty.
but I'm kind of invested into it, so I want to keep it because I want to try some more stuff. We talk about campaign games being stuff that really is everybody. We have too many campaigns, and
Yeah.
this kind of keeps getting pushed back. But not because of the theme. The theme's awesome, but the gameplay is just kind of a little clunky, and that's Folklore: The Affliction. Um,
I forgot about this
oh
game.
yeah. Well, anyway, this is one that we've just talked about this because the skeleton of this game and a lot of this game is really cool, but then there's parts of it that just makes it feel, I don't know if dated's the word. I don't know how to explain it
I don't
because
know how else I'd describe it. It feels like because that's the thing is people want to try and make like board games feel like video games, but then it's like because it's a tangible thing, it's way too fucking fiddly. Um, like bookkeeping is fine to an extent. But man, like when you're constantly breaking immersion just to pull more shit out,
yes, yeah, that's what I
it's
was gonna
like,
say.
ugh, never mind.
Yeah, because you go on the map and then you can go do these off-road events, which are the fastest way to battle is just little skirmish battles. You hit
Hmm.
those, you pull out the card, you roll off and try to kill it. But then
Yeah,
you also can hit these things where you actually almost like old school Final Fantasy, where you're walking around a world and it's like bloop, 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 and then
yep,
all of it zooms in
exactly.
and then you're in a battle mode. And this is an example of it.
Bam,
Right, right.
bam, 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 bam. Yeah.
So then you have to dig out the tile that battle's taking place. You have to go get the minis, get them all out there and everything.
Yeah. And
I
then
don't
put them all away. It's like, okay, don't know if we're fighting these guys again.
right. So I almost, I mean,
I know they made a storage solution, right, for all the minis.
yeah, K is a
Yeah,
monster
so
crate, so it has everything in it. So it
yeah,
makes
so
it
at least
easier.
that helps a little bit where you just pull the drawer out and get them. And these
Mhm.
also had the names of them,
Yeah,
right?
but that's what I was trying to think about that when I was putting this on the list. I was like, so if this game was strictly just miniatures for the heroes,
Mm-hmm.
and then use those skirmish type battles for everything else, would it still be good? You know?
No.
Um, right.
No,
I know that's
those.
just because, I mean, pulling all that crap out, I don't know how else you would do it with.
Well, yeah, so there was that. There was the fiddliness aspect. There was also they tried to do a crafting system
Mhm.
where you just bloated a deck, so all you were drawing were components. That's like, okay, I have 15 herbs.
Right.
Wish I could use them for something. It's like, yeah, I mean, because they have good ideas here. There's something here, but it just needs to be completely overhauled. This is a fantastic pick. I'm super pissed I didn't think about it because yeah, this is ripe for Fantasy Flight app, Descent Legends of the Dark app, where all that component stuff, all that percentile attack stuff is
Mhm.
all done on the app.
Yeah.
Because you had
That's-
components you would pick up in Descent Legends of the Dark. And it's
Right.
like, oh hey, let's build this weapon. Hey, as the magician, I want to create a new top hat for me. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can craft it. Like
It's
you pick those up through events and stuff, just natural events, and then now you can spend them.
well, and I just tried, because I counted this and I shouldn't have counted it because when I was looking at it a second, I thought that the version I have was the second edition, but it was a second printing. So it
Oh,
wasn't exactly a second edition. I looked on Kickstarter earlier just to make sure. And
gotcha.
but yeah, the thing that drug me into this game was just the unique theme,
Yeah,
and
the
the whole
European folklore
European,
theme.
well, yep.
Hmm.
And then the uh the roles, the characters you got to play, they were
Yeah.
unique versions of characters. They each had their own skill trees, and you could only buy certain things at certain towns when you were there. That you were only,
Hmm.
there was a lot to this game, and I mean it's a pretty damn complex game, but
It's
it had its
brutal
faults.
too. The like, because it's percentile dice. to
Mhm.
hit, and it's like stacked way against you.
Right.
Like it's like you have like a 70% chance to miss, and the enemies have a 70% chance to hit. It's like, ugh, that's rough.
Well, and I'm pretty sure they're done, at least with this version of the game, unless they are working on another edition. Because I mean, they on their website, they were the Greenbrier Games are like had clearing seeing all this stuff off. So I don't know if that means they're done with it or if they're preparing to maybe do
Maybe
some
they're
more
just
stuff.
liquidating everything because they're about to close their doors.
I don't know, but so I because I was actually looking to trade or sell this at one point because of again all the campaign games, but like
Yeah.
it was only worth like it dropped down so much from what I was. People could go get it cheaper from other places. I was like, I'll just keep hold of it. You never
Yeah.
know.
Couple
So
Gen
anyway,
Cons ago, a
yeah,
friend of mine, they were really trying to sell him on the game, and all he did was buy the minis so he can use them for D&D. He's like, I think I'll buy the mini box. Oh, and everything else, and they're like, he's like, no, no, I
yeah,
don't want your fucking game.
yeah. I have everything, all the play mats and everything like you did. I think you had all that crap
I
too.
did.
Did
I
you
did. Because didn't they
did you
also
get
have
rid
it
of
to
it?
where you,
You got rid of it before the monster box came out though, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, because that last
Yeah, just
Kickstarter.
because there was this other, like, it wasn't just the fact that you were constantly digging in that box. It was just too fucking fiddly.
Yeah,
Like, I did not want to put in the effort to play it.
especially with recording it. Having to
Yeah, yeah,
get
that shit. I
stuff
mean, that recording, I bet you I wouldn't have such an aversion to games like this if I didn't record. But
right.
even now, like, because I'm kind of always in a recording mindset at this point, even if I'm not recording and I was playing, I'd be pissed that I had to get up to dig
Yeah.
shit out of the box. Um,
Yep. So
but I mean, because I've been playing KDM with a buddy, and
mhm.
we were doing all the bookkeeping stuff, but then they updated the KDM app to where it includes all the new stuff, and I'm like, I'm never touching this shit again. Like it's all in the app now because it's
Mhm.
just way easier. So yeah, this is a good one.
All right. All
All
right.
right, my number three is a fantastic game that technically I don't think needs a second edition. But I would like a second edition because I want more content.
Gotcha.
And this game really would do insane with more content. And that is
Oh yeah.
Mechs versus Minions.
Yep.
Yeah, so this game on its own is great. Like the made whatever they were called, um Gambinos or Gamblets.
Yeah.
What were the, yeah, what were they called? Um, it was probably like, it's probably like a slur in the League of Legends fucking universe is what they call. It's like, oh my God, I never knew. This game came out in 2016. You play as Yordles.
Yordles.
Yep. Yep, that
What
is
is this?
100% a slur. Uh, Corky, Tristana, Heimerdinger, and Ziggs. But this is, I mean, by Riot Games, and God, I just still, the production of this game is still amazing.
It's
But
it's yeah. It's
it's
crazy.
so good. But the actual gameplay with this was awesome as well. Like the real time element of drafting cards to then layer them on your board with the programming aspect of how, like, if you just had to real time set up your thing and then you look and you're like, oh, whoops, I meant to move first, and then you didn't, so then you like
Right.
attack nothing and then you turn and then you move and you're like, yep, sorry guys, sorry, that's on me, and then you have to like try and course correct so your mech is on the haywire, just like zooming around. But it's cooperative, so it's fun. Unlike Robo Rally, where it's like, oh, I bumped into you. It's like, okay, cool, my entire game is fucked. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's rough.
but this game is sexy as hell. They somehow, when they were designing it, they were like, hey, how about we do the best of everything? Minis, the boards, the cards, um, and the missions. I think there were 10
Hmm.
missions in the game, and they're all fun. Uh, Writing was quirky. They killed it. That's why I want a second edition or a new edition so I could get more content.
Yep.
I remember back in the day when I had this, um, John, the real winner of the group, uh, He was like wanting to trade me a bunch of stuff for it. Like,
Yeah.
I somehow was able to get most of the stuff he wanted to trade, but while keeping Mechs versus. No, I did trade him Mechs versus Minions, I think, because I got another edition at a later point. But I was so against trading it because I was certain they were going to make content for it, and they never did. Which is again wild, but
You
yeah, I
you
think
got your next copy from me, and then I got it back from you. You remember
that's
how it went
right.
back and forth?
That's right. That's right. Dude, what are we doing? Let's move in together. Let's combine our collections and our
Jesus Christ.
money, and then we'll quit our jobs and you and I will go full time in on YouTube and then realize how dumb of an idea that is. Um, but yeah, they like God, they would just make so much fucking. I mean, they already make so much money because it's League of Legends. So I don't know why they did this.
It
Because
was
at the time,
ridiculous how cheap it was.
I know it was like $70.
Crazy.
Like, I would love to know the behind the scenes on this game specifically because it's like it's Riot Games. They didn't need to make a board game. They did. The board game is amazing. So they could have just done a cash grab thing where it was like, whatever, like, but it was good. So they put in a bunch of effort and then did nothing with it after that. So I don't know. Because they could do another one where it's, four different Yordles. They could make a fucking, kind of like Guards of Atlantis, which is like a MOBA game. They could make League of Legends the board game.
Hmm.
Because they clearly have the design aspect for that. They could do a lot of stuff with this IP, and they just didn't. So I would love a second edition of Mechs versus Minions.
Yeah.
At least a reprinting of something from them, honestly. Like, and I don't even play League of Legends, so I have no ties to that. I don't
Yeah.
even know, like maybe these are the only four Yordles. Maybe they executed them all in a mass genocide of Yordles in the lore. Uh, who knows? Who knows? But yeah, this one shot way up at number 3 just because of the audacity of them to not even make more content.
Yeah. Yeah. My number 3 is kind of in that same boat. Um, the company is defunct now. But the stuff they put out, I really, really like. And I just wish there was a way to get more into it because I know there's more content with this from the book standpoint. Um, so there's a lot of stories still to tell, and I think it would be cool if it was picked back up, because and just to see what another mind could do to it, and that's Fireteam Zero.
Funny enough, this was also a game that was on my short list, but I knew you were going to talk about it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to pick it either.
Yeah. Yeah, this one is just I love this game. It's high up in my top 100. I can't remember exactly where it was, but there is several books in this line, and all that came out was pretty much this base box. There was a European cycle and the African cycle, and this game you pretty much play as the fire team, the group of 4 people, and you're doing missions like little mini campaign type things. And it has the multi-use cards. It's got the horror theme on it, but yet you still get that World War II feel with stuff. There isn't honestly a whole lot I would change to the game necessarily. I mean, I know the coin is kind of a thing, but as far as they come out with all these different monster groups and all this different stuff that you could use to freshen it up, it all looks really cool. The upgrading of your characters are really nice. I guess probably if you were to do another edition of this, would be to bring an app into it,
Yeah.
just like, I mean, we say that with a lot of these games now, but I mean, that's kind of the direction that people go towards. I mean, unless
Dude.
you're a purist and you don't do anything that has apps or app assist.
Yeah, grow up.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like get with it. Like I'm
But
not saying there's a line that I don't want to cross, where it's like if I'm on my phone, I'm at like 90% of the time it's like, okay, this is no longer a
well,
board game.
Destinies, you didn't even have to play and move the pieces on the board.
Yeah, exactly.
That's yeah. But anyway, so I think, and then just having more content for it would be nice. Um, there's just a lot to this game that I think, you know, it just needs more. Emergent Games, they did the one Kickstarter, they did another Kickstarter, almost didn't complete the second Kickstarter, and then just kind of disappeared. But if you had some sort of narration for the storyline, they used to have it on their
Mm.
old website, the old MP3 files to had like it read to you and stuff like that. But this was the game when it came out, came with a CD that you could put in that had like
No.
background music and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's one that I really think I would like to see it come back. In a new edition with stuff, I would be in on it just because I love the game style and everything. But it makes me want to read the books. I haven't read the books, but
Dude, I was trying to find where the books are. I cannot find them.
hmm,
Like I was looking up like Fireteam Zero books and it kept pulling up the game. So I wonder if they're called something else.
maybe. I wonder if they're just yeah. I need to look in the rule book because maybe it says in the rule book based on whatever series or
Oh
something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Because what would be cool is I don't know of any game that would do this, and it might not even work at all. But it'd be cool if as you're playing the game,
mhm.
you kind of were able to read the book, you know? So by the time you're done with the campaign, you've actually read the book.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's like that'd be pretty ambitious. It probably wouldn't work at all. It's like, all right, let's learn about the scenario. 40 pages of content.
I got it.
Oh, you
It's
did find it?
the Emergent Earth series
Oh, okay, okay,
by
okay.
Michael Langelis, who's the
Got it.
designer.
Emergent Earth.
Emergent, the Emergent Earth series. So anyway, but
Okay, got it.
so
Got
anyway,
it.
that's just it. I mean, the company went under, but it's still a great game. I would love to see it come back with some new stuff or maybe a little tweaked, updated junk.
Yeah,
So that's my
cool.
three.
All right. My number two. Uh yeah, as I was looking at games, this one I was like, "Oh man, I remember this being super fun, but basically unplayable because it also came with a CD. And this is ripe for a second edition, especially app-based, like 100%. It is a real-time game that I remember being a lot of fun back in the day,
Oh,
but
I think
uh you know what it is?
I think so.
Um and yeah, this would be an absolute blast, like really would kill it for a second edition, and that is Space Alert. Another CGE game. Funny enough, I didn't
Not a
really.
chance.
Huh? Yeah, which I don't think he designs anymore. Um, that's just what I've heard. I could be totally wrong, but I feel like I did hear that. Yeah, so Space Alert is a real-time programming game as you're being like bombarded by different events and aliens that are coming down like a track to attack you. Yep, there you go. There's that old CGE production. Like you can just tell it immediately. But yeah, you had like these different tracks that alien ships were coming down. It was kind of like a tower defense-esque thing that ran off of in this case it was like a CD um, that would have different noises that would kind of alert you to kind of different events and circumstances that you had to do. Um, but the game was completely fully cooperative, but it was completely programmable with what you were doing. So you had a certain time where you had to talk to one another on who needed to go to what section, who needed to load up the guns with ammo, who was going to go fire the guns. And if you like messed up, like if you like programmed it like a step too early where you run to the room and you shoot before someone got there to actually load it, you did nothing. It is chaos. but it is so much fun. And I think that a second edition of this game would be amazing. You drill it in with the app that's going to tell you, one, it's going to have all the noise elements that you need, the atmosphere, uh, but also kind of streamline it to where whenever you're adding things like of what's coming, like the app basically will tell you, kind of like what Project Elite does, maybe not have this game be 100% real time.
Yeah,
Um,
Windows where
yeah,
you're
you have like
doing that.
windows of real time,
Mhm.
basically the programmable part, but like whenever you're adding ships and events, like that stuff is done in like a not real time setting.
Yeah.
Because if I remember right, I think you drew ships as um as like the timer was going on, and it can be a little much whenever you're also trying to communicate with who's doing what. Because unlike Project Elite, um, you can't do everything yourself. You're not going to be able to go halfway across the ship to charge up the batteries to then go and deal with an event to because they also you can talk through it, but then they would have like sections where you'd have miscommunication to where
Mhm.
you can't now talk to one another. They could implement all that in the app, kind of clean up the game, and then just make another one. Keep the exact same system here. Just again, second edition, new edition it up, second edition it up. Uh, And I think you got a real winner here with that
Yeah.
because I mean, yeah, you don't have a CD anymore. Like you don't have like everything as we just mentioned for quite a few of these would be a fantastic app based, and I think this is no exception here.
Yeah.
So, and then yeah, maybe I can't remember if there was like a lull period, like hey, we're not doing real time stuff, but we're still playing the game. I can't remember if it was all real time or
I
if
want to say there was a planning period right before you started the disc.
okay.
Timer thing. I've only played it once, but I'm just trying to remember back because I remember trying to strategize, but then different shit would start hitting the fan.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it has been quite some time for me. I think this game came out Space Alert came out in 2008.
Yeah.
Wow. And I know they had an expansion for it that I think how many yeah, the New Frontier, which I think added a campaign. Um yeah, I remember it came with like a book of achievements and stuff. Maybe that's what it was, but they added more content. Uh So I think, I mean, yeah, ripe for an awesome new alien ships, new powers, new ships, maybe to defend would be
Hmm.
cool. So yeah, that's my number two, Space Alert.
All right. My number two is a game that I was really, really big on when I collected all of it. It's a solo only game. And then the company came out with another version of said game, which pretty much nullified this version I'm going to talk about. Um,
Okay.
and and I think the reason this one should get a new edition is because I think they should take all the stuff that they added to the new version, the new style, and then bring it to this game, which I'll just go ahead and say it because it's kind of confusing. Hostage negotiator.
Oh, okay.
So like I love the theme of hostage negotiator, being it, the whole criminal, crazy person, and you're trying to talk them down, doing different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you just didn't get as much with this game. And they tried, there
Yeah.
was a ton of different stuff. But when Final Girl came out, they brought that spatial stuff where you're actually moving around doing stuff, and they actually, and then just the game itself having the modular where you could put, the killer and the final girl together. Like, I think it would be interesting if they did something like that with this, have the box for the crazy person and maybe a different hostage negotiator with different deals, and you can put them together. Have a map where you're actually saving people in a hospital or a bank robbery
Mm-hmm.
or crap like that. Um, so just taking what they learned from the Final Girl's crazy popularity and putting it this theme on it then, like kind of going backwards, a little bit. But
Yeah, yeah, I know. I mean, did you ever do the careers?
yes,
Okay. So that was fun, even though I never had any reason to ever do it again. Um, I think that might be the route they could go because I don't see a map being utilized because you're a negotiator. You're not going to be SWAT teaming into the into the room to save the hostages. That's your job to save them is by negotiating.
right,
But I do think you're onto something of adding more to this. The careers was a good expansion, maybe something with that, but not so much. Not literally get growing in the ranks of a hostage, but maybe something where it's choice based and you had like the other guy that was pulling all the strings and maybe that's different based off of the one you pick.
right. Well,
That
because the
might
only reason
work.
I was thinking, because like in this, there's those cards that you can get that are like the I don't know, I can't remember what they're called because I haven't played in a while, but there's like the sniper card where you're pretty much sniping and stuff like that. Or
Well, you're talking to this. Yeah, you're not sniping. You had a sniper that you're
right, but that's what I'm
shot.
meaning. Like, but that's what I'm kind of picturing. Like if you had a map where there's windows and like you're moving, trying to talk him over to certain places of the building to get him in line of
Oh yeah.
saying like
Okay.
trying to
Like
convince him to move or move someplace so they
do you
can
see that
breach.
big bay window? Can you stand in front of it real quick?
Well,
I want to see who I'm talking to.
right, but then
Yeah.
the buildings, then you could figure out where to breach. Like if you were gonna bring in a breach squad or something. Like
Yeah, maybe do like an element of like you kind of have to stall and then maybe yeah,
right,
you have a side piece of where you're organizing and getting like SWAT people moved into specific.
because
Yeah.
you could have a killer box and a location box, and those are what you put together. Different things like hospital,
Yeah.
different stuff. And like I said, it's Final Girl still I think fits it better, but like that would make this game. I think just having that movement is what
Hmm.
I is a big thing,
I mean,
and
because the killers or the killers, the I don't know what they were called. They had some where you had to like you had to find where the kids were. That
mhm,
was one, and that had a little mini map. You had to try and like talk to them and get information out of them to where you had to find where they stashed like the kids. You had another
right,
one where it was like an influencer who was
mhm,
using her power to like create like a mob. Um, and so stuff like that. So you could probably, yeah, like enhance that a little bit more. Um, I think a lot of the expansion stuff they got a lot more creative.
yeah,
Because your very first guy is very almost abstract.
yeah, pretty much,
But yeah, you're right. This game eventually just died because you couldn't. There was like no real reason to replay the same uh guy. Like
hmm
you could do the Hans Camp Happy Trails box a lot just because of the different events, the different items.
yep,
Um, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I'm not against
it's
this one. I think yeah, I think it would be cool. I'd be intrigued because I do like the theme of this as well. Um, so yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting pick. I'm not against it. I'm not like your Balul or whatever the fucking game was.
Batu.
Batu. Oh, bless you. All right. My number one is a crossover.
Well, then
Can you guess?
it's probably the one that you were faking that wasn't on your list, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my number one is 100% folklore, which I thought was actually going to be your number one. Uh, because we have talked about this game and like we so want a second edition that is basically this theme and like the skeleton that they have for it, but as Descent Legends of the Dark app based. Um, like I mean, I talked about it. Ooh,
Well, that's got some 3D stuff going on.
right? I'm like, that. Damn.
That's the
Actually,
second
go
edition right there.
go back real quick.
Oh,
I want
sorry.
to talk about how shitty this fucking cover is.
Yeah.
This is they tried so hard to want to do like a Defenders of the Realm thing. So you have the werewolf there, but no one is looking at it.
Yeah.
Like the crazed madman is gonna punch at the back of the head of the Little Red Riding Hood. The warrior is gonna shoot his crossbow at the ground, and then behind him, she's looking at going to stab the soldier, and then the sorceress lady is just having a meltdown. Um, this is awful. This is such a shitty cover.
The
Anyway,
cover for their expansions were better.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get what they're doing, showing all the different things, but it's like, man, this does not give group fighting a werewolf. This gives like group. This gives like one of their buddies turned into a werewolf, and they're all blaming each other. They're all about to fight. Like, oh God, you said you would save him, and then they all hate each other. This is stupid. Anyway, so yeah, you can go to the next picture. That actually makes the game look like it'd be super fun. Uh, but yeah, everything that we said, like just do a lot of the events done in the app. Like you do skirmishes in the app. You, I mean, hell, if you just took skirmishes and like did it in the app, like that'd be pretty good. You could do all the storytelling because it was kind of choice based. Um, but ultimately, really what you're doing when you're playing the game is you are just setting up for the actual fight. Like you're not doing travel around where it's like, let's move 2 spaces on here and draw an event card. It's like that is just awful. Take all the resource stuff, like the resource cards, take those out to where it's just done. Kind of like again in Descent Legends of the Dark, when you're traveling to your actual location, you just have random encounters, and then it's like, boom, here are the resources you get. And when you go back to like the main hub or the main city, it's like, oh man, what do we have? Hey, we can craft something. That would be way more streamlined. And you can still have your various fights against all the cool European folklore.
Yep.
And yeah, that's I don't want to belabor this too much since we've already talked about it, but yeah, 100%, 100% I would be very down for a second edition of Folklore.
Hear that, Greenbrier? Let's go.
I know, right?
All right. My number one's not a crossover. Do you have any guess?
Oh God. Shadows of Brimstone.
No, they just did another edition of that not too long
Oh,
ago.
did they?
Yeah.
Maybe
Anyway,
that should have been on my list. I should have done Shadows of Brimstone so I can actually get everything for it. Instead of paying, what was it, 5 grand, 7 grand to just buy stuff off their store that isn't even everything. No.
Plus the
If
new
it's not
other Kickstarter that's coming.
yeah. But they don't do everything. You can't get everything off their Kickstarters, right?
Yeah.
They don't do like a all-in bundle.
Oh,
pledge.
if you're lucky, they got first. I can't remember what they call it, the strategist or or something. There's a way that you can get like everything, and it's
Oh
crazy.
wow.
It's crazy amount. There's only like they only do like 6 or 7 pledges at a time with it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's not a crossover, I don't know.
All right, it is.
Oh my God. Yeah.
This one will never happen unless another company picks it up with a different theme on it.
Yeah.
But the bones of this game is still one of my favorite card games ever. And I know it's still behind the scenes running a little bit, fan ran, but as far as just coming right out of the gate and being something that they redo, they did do a second edition of this right before it died.
Yeah.
And so that's why this was another one that, but I really was holding out hope that they were going to do it with a Cyberpunk 2077 theme or something with all that. That was kind of my hope, but it kind of faltered. But, this is to me, Richard Garfield's best game. I mean, I know he's
I'm like, you're not
He's
even.
got a few.
Yeah.
He's got a few other games under his belt that, you know, that like Magic and all that good stuff. Yeah. But this
It's
one,
Magic in this. Like yeah. Like I'm not putting Keyforge up there.
but yeah, this one. If anybody ever did this, there was such a following with this game. I mean, enough that they're, like I said, it's still being fan ran. And like, how many? I mean, it's been for years after this game died, and
Yeah.
there was such a following with it, and Fantasy Flight just dropped the damn ball on it so bad, and then whatever happened with them, and oh shit, the company that has the Android or the Netrunner theme, the
IP.
mechanics,
Oh yeah.
There's just, they fell apart with it, and it sucks, but I'm still hold out hope. Tom Vassell has this thing. If there's a good game system, it's going to find its way back. That's
Yeah,
Vassell's
his rule, his gaming
Yeah.
rule, where a good
So-
game will always find a way. Yeah,
right.
whatever
So
it is.
I could do. I would not give a crap what the theme was on this. It could be fucking Barbie going to whatever. I like this game because of the mechanics more than anything. As long as it
Mhm.
makes sense with everything, I mean, it's outstanding, and I would be poor if this game came back out again. But
Yeah, this is a very obvious pick for you. I totally makes sense.
yep,
Totally makes sense. Hell, I'd probably jump in on it so I can actually learn the nuances, and I was like, maybe I'll be good at it. Because I am, in the few times I've played, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand. How do you win?
it takes a few games for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, good pick. And that, everyone, is our top 10 games that need a new edition. Let us know what you think of our picks, and also let us know what games you think need a new edition in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.